Hi everyone, how's it going? This is Mike, and I'm here to do a midweek chat, or I guess at this point, since it's already Saturday, I should call it end of week chat. But so I wanted to get this in, hopefully before it's too late. So my morning coffee. And anyway, okay, there are three topics this time, and the first one has to do with what makes our favorite film genre our favorite film genre. And it seems like an easy question to answer, but it's actually kind of difficult. I don't know. I think, in the sense of horror films, which is a genre that I love, and I suppose it's my number one. I think I fell in love with all those old classic horror films before I even saw them. And what I mean by that is I started back in the early '60s, before I was able to see a lot of these films on TV. I started reading monster magazines like Famous Monsters of Filmland, and I would see these beautiful still photographs from Dracula and Frankenstein, all those great old black and white films. And I just loved that gothic, mysterious, dark atmosphere that they had in those movies. And I think I was hooked from the very beginning just by looking at the pictures. I knew a lot about those films before I even saw them, because I read those magazines. And I think I've just always been attracted to that kind of gloomy side of human existence. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I still love those films to this day. Another genre I like is the old Hollywood musicals of the 1930s and 40s, which may not interest a lot of people here, but for example, the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers films that came out beginning in 1933, they depicted a vision of life which had no comparison to reality at all. They were immersed in this Art Deco fantasy that I don't think anybody in the universe actually lived that way. But it was so beautiful. Every human problem that came up could be solved by singing a song and then going into a dance, And I think that's why the Depression era audiences love those movies so much, is because they didn't have a connection with the reality. They were beyond reality, and it's what made them so much fun. And I guess I also like mystery thrillers and film noir, and I guess again I like that dark atmosphere. And I think as far as mystery films, it makes your brain work a little harder, because you're trying to put all the clues together along with the detective or the protagonist in the film who's trying to solve a crime or solve a mystery, and it just makes you work mentally along with these people, and I think that's kind of a challenging thing. Of course, I've never been smart enough to come to the conclusion before the end of the film, but yeah, okay, so I guess that's my answer to those questions, that topic. The second topic has to do with censorship, how we feel about it, and censorship on the big screen, censorship on television. I agree that adults should be able to see director's cuts, uncensored versions of films in the theaters and also on cable TV. As far as network television, to me that's an entirely different thing. It could be that 20 or 30 years from now, network TV as we've always known it simply won't exist anymore. But I think even there the envelope is being pushed to have more explicit scenes and more blood and all that stuff. And certainly the language is changing. And to be honest with you, I would like to see that standard that we always had back in the 50s and 60s when TV was very benevolent. I would like to see that standard maintained. I don't think that's going to happen, but I really have to wonder if we are somehow being advanced as a culture and as a people, because we can now expect to hear any kind of profane language in films. I mean, there are no restraints. And the same goes with scenes of violence and gore and sexuality. I don't think depictions of sexuality, unless it has to do with, sexual violence, are necessarily harmful, because that's a natural thing between human beings. But to depict violence and blood and all this stuff, I have to wonder if we are being advanced as human beings and as a culture, rather than being dumbed down and pulled down to a level that is beneath us. In the old days, when they had stronger censorship in films, they had to use more creativity to convince you that what people were feeling they couldn't come out with a string of profane invectives in order to let people know how they were feeling. They had to do it with more creativity, and I think, I'm not sure if I'm expressing this very well, but I don't know. I don't think that we are necessarily better off now because there isn't anything that we can't hear and anything that we can't see. And I have to wonder what things are going to be like 20 or 30 years from now. So I guess that's my feeling about censorship. Some of it I am actually for. Not for adults, because to paraphrase a line from the Woody Allen film Radio Days, we don't matter, our lives have already been ruined. But I have to wonder what it's doing to the younger generations. Okay? When I was growing up, TV was very benevolent. Back in the 50s and 60s, there were already a lot of voices questioning the kind of violence that we had on TV in westerns and some of the crime shows. I remember a lot of people were complaining about the TV show The Untouchables, about how violent it was. So even then there were people who were concerned about that sort of thing. But what we have now, I just think it's beyond outrageous. But I don't know. I think that's the way society is advancing. And as far as the motion picture industry and the television industry, they exist for one reason and one reason only, and that is to make money. So for them to let the standards, I mean, back in the late 1920s and early 1930s, the motion picture industry was forced to start cleaning up the direction that they were going in and install censorship. It was a business decision. They did it to protect their bottom line, which was to make money and keep people coming into the theaters. So they created that kind of benevolent cinematic culture. And in the 1950s, when their bottom line was threatened by the advent of television, they made other business decisions to lessen censorship, to keep people coming in the theaters. So it's all about money. And it's the same with television too. So, all right, that's enough about that. The third topic has to do with 3D. How do we feel about it, I guess, in movies and television? Well, that's an easy question for me. Let me show you the extent of my experience with 3D. It's two films. One is the William Castle film 13 Ghosts, which came out in 1960. And I went to see this movie with my family at the drive-in. And it's supposed to be in 3D, right? And see the little home video glasses that are included in the DVD. When we saw this movie, they weren't handing out the 3D glasses, so we were sitting there watching this movie and trying to see the ghosts, and we couldn't see them. It was still a good movie, and I always liked it, which is why I wanted to buy it when it came out on DVD. Now I can actually watch it. The only other thing I've ever seen with 3D glasses is this very obscure Canadian film from 1961 called The Mask, which a lot of you may not know about, you've never heard about it, but it also has the 3D glasses included. There are a lot of great sequences in this film, which is also in black and white, where when the character in the film puts on this hideous mask, that's a signal for the audience to put on the glasses so they can see the visions, some of which are really, really very creepy and well done. So 3D, I don't know. I've never seen 3D in the theater. I think eventually I will go out to one of these IMAX things and have that whole experience just to see what it's all about and what everybody's talking about. But I think I will probably be another one of those people who would get violently sick and probably never want to do it again. So yeah, I'll do it. I'm not excited about it. It doesn't mean that much to me, but eventually, yeah, I'd like to see something in 3D. As far as 3D TV, forget it. You got to be kidding me. I would never spend the kind of money it takes to buy a 3D television, and I can't imagine why I would need to watch anything on television in 3D, including, well, just what I have here. That's a whole different thing. As far as TV shows being projected in 3D, who cares? I mean, I guess the idea is that eventually everything on television will be in 3 dimensions, so you can watch the evening news. How exciting will that be, you know? Israel versus Palestine, you can see the bombs dropping on Gaza in 3D. That's great. We can watch the Chicago Cubs lose in 3D. That's wonderful. So, no, I will never buy a 3D television, and I think it's all a bunch of nonsense. And that's my midweek chat. End of week chat, sorry. Okay, thanks for watching. Comments are welcome.